we're live back here at the Media Skills Show here at F-Square Printing. We're just coming back from a break right now.
All right, but you don't appreciate enough of what I have to say to make an ad-hoc remarks. I don't criticize you. No, I'm not arguing with you. I was to be occupied.
We've honestly, we didn't come here to talk about Occupy at all, whatsoever. Like, this whole thing is not Occupy, whatever.
At least 30 times. So when I speak, I know what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that Occupy's retreat into non-profit work.
So are you interested in collaborating in like a media group here? Awesome. Okay. Awesome.
I'm really just not wanting to have a sorry for my part if there was any publicity that we felt. I appreciate it. I would rather text and post it somewhere else. I don't represent any ideology. I don't represent any group. I think it's
Hey, where's Nose at? Hi, Cutie Pie. Good to see you again. Where's Alyssa? Anyway, guys, we're going to get started back in just a second. We're just coming back from break. I have a little concern about the guy who's in there arguing about Occupy. Hey, Naz. Hey. Oh, I'm live right now. I can mute if you want. Where's Alyssa?
Alyssa's inside.
I have a little concern about one person who was sitting in the chair next to me, that he might be here.
I'm aware, and
he's arguing with a really sweet woman right now. I'm concerned that he's here to disrupt or something. He's fighting about Occupy or something.
The guy with the bushy hair?
I didn't see him before.
I didn't see
him. Did he just get here?
I know, the guy who was fucking doing the stuff with
Okay, so I wanted to warn Alyssa. I don't see her anywhere.
Yeah.
So anyway, anybody who's just tuning in, we're here in Los Angeles, California. This is F-Square Printing. This is a media skill share. It's not has nothing to do with Occupy. It's just like a bunch of activists who want to work together and share their skills. What's up? You having trouble? I don't really know much about computers, so I can't really help you. Oh, there she is. So I think Alyssa's going to speak next. She's setting up her computer with the TV over here. Say hi to the live stream.
Oh, hi, live stream. I'm uploading memes that I've been making while they were talking about memes.
Nice!
To my page, and I'm hoping.
Yay! I was supposed to talk, but I'm so not prepared.
What were you going to talk about?
I was going to talk about amplifying our voices.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to talk about... I don't think I'm going to say anything that other people haven't said already, except you could build a cheap laptop.
Yeah.
I don't know if I shared that information with you, but there's a way you can build a video laptop for $300.
I want more info. Did I miss that?
Huh?
Did I miss that?
I haven't talked to. I actually brought one. That rebuilt laptop that has Macintosh and Windows on it.
Yeah, please do that. Please talk about that today. Is everyone going to stay after 5?
Huh?
Is everyone staying after 5?
We can stay here until 7. There's another event at 7. We can stay for that, but this particular everything has to end by 7.
Yeah, please talk about it, because I want to know how to do that.
You want to know how to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to, like, well...
Or if not, then just forget them and just tell me.
I'll tell you for sure, for sure. Hi, I'm glad you're here.
We just heard the OFF meeting off for 2 hours.
Yay! Say hi.
Pitch in the back end.
Hello everyone. Jet Boy in the house. Do you want to, anything you want to talk about?
No, I'm just here to learn.
Yay!
Really, so far, coming here like 3:45, I've learned a lot of stuff about Facebook and like maintaining pages and memes. It's really great, and I can't wait for break to be over.
I think Alyssa's talk's going to be really awesome. I'm really excited about Alyssa. Alyssa's like fucking amazing social media person.
I agree. I agree.
Okay, so nice. Bob, Crazy Duck 64 says hi.
Hi. Who is that?
Crazy Duck 64, obviously a Bob the fucking journalist fan.
Thanks for saying hi.
I think Crazy Duck's just sitting at home being starstruck over you.
I'm starstruck over like you, obviously, the admin, one of the admins of Untitled, and like what's her name?
And who?
What's her name? I don't know her name, but
Oh, Lauren Steiner?
Yeah.
Lauren Steiner is so badass. She's the most badass reformist I've ever met.
she knows how to be a leader.
That woman, is this yours?
Yeah.
That woman knows how to get shit done.
Yeah.
And she does not take no for an answer.
Yeah, I appreciate her for that.
And she's the only person who can criticize me, and I won't cry. She was like rip me to shreds, but it's always helpful.
Yeah.
Because I know that when she criticizes me, it's never a personal attack.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just her opinion.
But she's
Like, she got mad at me because I criticized the cops in my live stream at her event. But it was my live stream, even though it was her event. But I did defend myself by saying, when there was an interaction with the cops that happened, and when it happened, I kept my mouth shut. And I don't normally do that. So, out of respect for her, at her action, I kept my mouth shut. Because there was another live streamer there who had a gas mask. And the cops wanted to inspect his bags, and he consented. And, like, I wouldn't have consented. But, I mean, that was his decision, right? So, all I did was stand there and film it, which probably was the most effective thing I could have done, is just document it with my mouth shut.
But I think like I don't think like it's really criticism to you. Like I think it's just difference of opinion.
Yeah. And Fuzzy says Steiner rocks. Steiner does rock. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She's sometimes harsh to get along with, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. And sometimes I even let her micromanage me sometimes, and I don't like that at all. That's like the worst thing ever. But I know that when Lauren Steiner's micromanaging me, I'm gonna learn something.
Yeah, I learned something when she was talking, like to keep in contact with journalists and media people, and you know, let them know what's gonna happen and what's going on.
It looks like It looks like Alyssa's ready. So maybe I should move back over there. This guy in the striped shirt concerns me. No, way over there.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
But I like how the lady's handling.
Who's handling it?
The lady he's talking to.
Yeah.
Like she's like being a real good like peaceful.
Let me warn Alyssa real quick.
What you may need to do is
Alyssa, I have like very strong concerns about the guy in the striped shirt behind you. Okay.
Patty, do you have the laptop? No.
Hey, if everybody can begin to reconvene, we're having a little bit of technical issues, so I'm probably just going to use my laptop, which is maybe going to mean all of us sitting on the floor like kindergarten. Because some of the things that I'm explaining, some of the things that we're going to talk about in terms of transmedia strategy are rather complex, and they cover the overarching picture of what people have been witnessing with activism's role in the media today. So if everybody is come together like super
Is that
tight.
map the one that was on Facebook?
I think we might have to share my laptop.
Yes.
I wrote some kind of comment about is that the healthcare plan?
About what?
I wrote a comment that is that the healthcare plan? Because I couldn't see the.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It looked like Hillary Clinton's healthcare.
Well, there's two different graphics, and they're both on Facebook.
I couldn't read the words carefully.
Oh, I'm getting hungry. I didn't.
So I split my media into media and web page publicity.
So, really quickly, does everybody here know what social media is?
No.
Who doesn't? You don't know what social media is?
I'm kidding. I know.
Okay. So social media is taking digital content and distributing it. How we create social media is we take digital content, any type of digital content, and we distribute it across multiple social media networks. So it could be 140 line, 40 character Twitter post. It could be a mini blog on Facebook. It could be a picture of your cat throwing up in the toilet. It could be absolutely anything. But the minute you take or create digital content, you're participating in the social media space. Do you know now transmedia it has no definitive definition at this time. A lot of people say it in different ways. We once knew something called multimedia, which was taking your book and adapting it into a movie, right? That would be multimedia, but transmedia plays a bit of a different role than multimedia. What it is creating a narrative that changes across multiple media platforms. And for activists, or as I've often seen it, I'll see a bill, or I'll see a news story come up on my Twitter, which is where news often breaks today, is Twitter. And I will become galvanized. I'll be like, NDAA? What do you mean indefinite detention? What the fuck is this? And so I take a pic, and I'll read the entire bill, and I'll take a picture, or I'll take that picture and I'll put it with an article. And when I do that and I post it on social media, and other people are adding their perspective to this narrative, we are now together collectively creating a transmedia narrative. It is a narrative of a story that changes slightly as it goes across these different platforms and comes from each user. And a lot of us have been doing this organically without really discussing it. Her and I are like transmedia BFFs.
Yay.
But without actually talking about the toxics and the way in which it's done, and then doing it appropriately for each platform. Like trying to put the first couple of lines on your blog on Twitter might not be the smartest thing. Twitter, you have 140 characters. If you cannot create something in 140 characters that people say, whoa, I want to share that, then you maybe are not communicating appropriately on Twitter. And Facebook is not a blogging platform. When I see somebody write something like this on my Facebook and it shows up on my newsfeed, I keep scrolling down. I am not going to read this. I will read your headline, I will look at your photo, and I will read your blogette. I will read your 2 paragraphs max on Facebook. That is it. WordPress is a blogging platform. Maybe you'll show a screenshot of a tweet, but people are there and they are willing and they are open to longer form digital content, an article-like or photo essays, right? So everything should be appropriate to the platform. Instagram, a photo. They probably don't want photos of words from your blog. They probably want actual pictures that are captivating, that are relevant. So it's very important for the transmedia narrative that you stay relevant to the platform, that you respect the platform and the audience, the reason why they are there, and you understand what platform you're on. Pinterest, consumer driven. They want to see products. They want to know what boots are in style. You know what I mean? Like, so, and a lot of these narratives start with why. Like, if you want to do it as an organization, why are we doing this? Why? Like March Against Monsanto, we had gone to a Rainbow Occupy thing, and we had tried to galvanize the rainbow people and do our, we are the 99%. They didn't give a shit about any of that. But anytime we held fuck Monsanto, it would travel across the whole camp. Fuck Monsanto! Fuck Monsanto! Fuck Monsanto! Fuck Monsanto! Fuck Monsanto! Oh man, everybody realizes that there's a problem with our food. And sometimes, as those transmedia narratives build, an action builds around it, like March Against Monsanto already had a huge audience. And then once that bill was signed, the Monsanto Protection Act, it grew because we lost control of our food suppliers, and that's pretty sick and twisted and fucking demented. Like, I'm sorry, I curse a lot. But you don't have a say about what's in your food. You don't have a right to know. So there was already a built-in audience for that issue. And the why was really simple. Why? Because we deserve to know what's in our food. Because we have a right to say what's in our food. We have a right to decide. I mean, it's very fundamental needs. So decide from that why, you go to what. What is it? What is going on? Like, what is the information that we're going to put out? So you begin to tell your audience what Monsanto is. What have they done? You begin to discuss that what. You begin to educate people on those various platforms. So on Instagram, it might be a picture of the what. What? Oh, guys walking around in hazmat suits, spraying crops. This is the what. This is a problem when you have to wear massive amounts of protection gear to treat our food. This what is a problem. Our food is not safe. If you are wearing protection gear to spray something on our food that I have to eat, that's the what, but it's just a picture. And then that what can be in a longer blog. Well, I want to learn more about these guys and Monsanto. And so somebody might link to a blog. Well, read more. And then that what becomes longer. And then how are we going to do it? So now once you have your why and your what, how do we do it? And the ways that I've watched these groups, or had the honor to watch these groups operate, is the how is through us, through collaborating with other groups collectively, through reaching out to other people, through educating the public, through trying to go across as many of these platforms as possible, which is not just social media. Shit, if you could build an anti-Monsanto video game, build it. If you can build it, you have the application where you can go into the store and find out if there's GMOs in your food. That is a transmedia narrative. You now went to you went to the mobile platform and you have an application where you can figure out, what am I eating? So figure out what your resources are. When you do that, how? We've got someone who likes to take photos. We've got someone that live streams, that's willing to be on the ground. We have action organizers that are going to build an action around this. And everything should reinforce the why. It always comes back to the why, and that's going to inform how you're doing it and what you want to accomplish. What do you want to accomplish? Food liberation. How do we do this? And it begins to build a bigger plan. And after you have those actions, March Against Monsanto, right? You need to come back and say, okay, we built all this media, we built this narrative around this. What happened when we did the march? What do we need to do differently? How does this play into the larger strategy of liberating food, right? Or no war with Syria? What happens at this protest? How does it play in? And when you're at those events are also media-making moments. When you have people with those really compelling signs. Remember in LA we had, this is the simplest thing, it was just a girl walking around with a clear piece of plastic that said food transparency, please. And that was a piece of media. That also was a vehicle to get the message out through the transmedia narrative. But to have that broader based strategy and to collectively collaborate and say, I'm going to reach out to other groups, I'm going to reach out to Anti-GMO LA, I'm going to reach out to Hunger Action LA, I'm going to speak to these people who are concerned about money and politics that also participated in March Against Monsanto, and we're going to come together as a team and work on this to create this broader narrative, because some of the transmedia narrative will come from your team, right? You're going to have Damon taking pictures, Patty's going to be live streaming, I'm going to be making little blogettes, somebody else is going to be organizing, but your participants can also now create media on the scene, and that is where the hashtags come in. So if when you put out your event, March Against Monsanto, and you, like for LA, we had a hashtag, MAMLA. When we came back from organizing the event, you better believe that somebody's in there typing hashtag MAMLA and pulling up all the content for people that use that hashtag and looking for the stuff that's good and distributing it so that the message goes even further, because it doesn't stop when your event ends. And especially if you need a long-term strategy like food liberation or stopping wars or rebuilding a country that has lost its democracy. You have to have a very long-term strategy, and you have to follow up on that information. And then going viral. Okay, so how do you actually create viral content? I wish I had a bunch of memes up there, and we'll see if they get them out. But it's like, don't strive to be viral. That's not what works. Try to be awesome. That is how you create viral content, is by being awesome. It's beginning to know or learning how to aggregate content, how to look at content and decide, this caught my eye, this is valuable, we live in a society that's been taught to be driven by their emotions because of Hollywood, right? They create emotional porn every single day. Well, did that get an emotion out of you, and is it about your cause? Because that's what your audience is driven by. So that creates an emotion that made you upset, that made you angry. Pull it down, right? Either recirculate it or bring it back to your team to make it better. It might be a picture, and somebody decides they're gonna, like in one group I work with, we'll create a thread and post a bunch of pictures, and we'll post a bunch of like little clips or little thoughts or little moments from people on the ground that tell us what's going on, and then somebody else compiles all that thread into a blog that goes to the website. And if you want to tell a comprehensive transmedia narrative, and for the people involved in Occupy, I've watched 4 models of this, of actually how to do it. You have to have a presence in every one of those social media networks. So when you set up Anti-Media, when you set up March Against Monsanto, when you set up Revolution News, there's a Facebook page, there's a website, there's a YouTube channel, there's a Twitter account, there's an Instagram account, and I don't know how to use Reddit or Google+, but if anyone can do that, be on all of those networks.
Yay!
Be on all of those networks. Sorry. So be on all those networks and know how to do it. So I'm going to start at the beginning of this just to give you some definitions and take you through it. Oh. So we're going to talk, and this is my little presentation. I have a terrible memory. So transmedia strategies. What is social media? And here's kind of your official definition. None of this is originally mine, but just sort of some of the best practices. Social media is user-driven internet and mobile-driven media where people create, mix, and share any type of digital content. That is what social media is. Okay, so this is the process where we were kind of talking about, and not everything is represented here. There's so many social media outlets. But this is kind of how the information sharing happens. But remember, when you are creating content to spread, to share out. Your team is doing it. Your channel should be the root source. So if you create a YouTube video, your team should have a YouTube channel that first posts that video. Someone else might snatch it, someone else might mirror it, but you want people to come back to you and in your cause and say, what are these people about? What have they been doing? And they can look through everything you've done and get a broader picture of the narrative, of the action you're actually trying to tell, to propel people into action. So that's kind of how it works in their relationships. Twitter is how I find a lot of viral content. It's where news first breaks. So my personal page has gone viral a lot because I man Twitter. Like, I read it like some people read the LA Times. And I'll find a story and I'll just take that headline or take that picture and move it to Facebook. Another great resource that isn't on here where the artists are is Tumblr. You want beautiful digital art about your cause? Somebody's probably already made it on Tumblr. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are people who already probably share your concerns if you're sitting here, right? That share your concerns about justice, about food. What is transmedia? Telling a story via several different media platforms. However, this does not mean that the story is just displaced from one platform to the next, such as simply adapting a novel into a movie. True transmedia stories use each platform to add something new to the overall narrative, be it by offering background stories, changing the perspective on an event or character through different viewpoints, or continuing a story arc. So that's the typical corporate perspective, right? But activists are doing it differently. I mean, there is a story arc to what we're doing, but it's not as manufactured. But we also have the privilege of it being real. There's people on the ground who are telling these stories, and it's very important to connect with those people. It's very important to aggregate your information and to do research and know that what you're finding is legitimate. So to know some people on the ground is very valuable, or at least be connected to collectives who have people on the ground. Also, Google Images is like my best friend in the world. I have totally been guilty of posting images that I think are from a massive, like I see a picture of 1 million protesters at a square and I get very excited and I have occasionally reshared these things and you will hear that's from 2010, that's from this Hollywood blockbuster. So always check your information. If you post it in Google Images and you think it's a breaking image, like it just came out of Greece, it just came out of Egypt, well, if you find it already cataloged in Google Images before that day, or weeks, or months, or years before, you know that whatever you were told was a breaking image is actually not. And it's something that people recycle. And this is really important because there are actual people out there that do this intentionally to delegitimize the citizen journalists that are out there trying to report accurate information. So check your sources. What is transmedia activism? Transmedia activism is a framework that creates social impact by using storytelling from a number of decentralized authors who share assets and create content distributed across multiple forms of media to educate, agitate, and influence action. So, we spoke a little bit about this. So, March Against Monsanto had a great example, and they were super timely, which is super important. So you had the Monsanto Protection Act happen already, and these people had already established something in the background, something that seemed seemingly small to them. But when that happened, they galvanized that moment. You can't let those moments slip by. Like even no war with Syria, there were some of us, when it was happening, you could have let that moment slip by. You could have said, oh fuck it, we'll just wait till we go to war. Or you could say, we're galvanized right now. I don't give a fuck, that's 1 o'clock in the morning, which is, I think, basically it was 1 o'clock in the morning. We're galvanized right now. We're going to start doing our images. We're going to start coordinating with other pages and telling them, like, fuck this, we're having massive, we're going to do a massive campaign.
The No War with Syria rallies was all that stuff was catapulted off of the meme as well. It started with one meme and it just, same thing, it just spread from every platform and really, really well.
Right, and it's not, I know a lot of us get really tired. We're like, I can't plan another protest or I can't participate in another thing. But sometimes you have to say, like, screw it. Like, I'm going to do what I can, and this is happening in this moment. NDAA is happening in this moment. We can be indefinitely detained if this guy, signs this. We have to do something right now. And that's when people be galvanized. If you come in after the fact, and I think, like, Facebook stories have, like, a 2-hour life. You come in a week later, people have forgotten about it.
Serious going on paper towels?
So being timely is super important, and I think more cohesively beginning to establish long-term strategies. Like, we're having a lot of knee-jerk reactions right now. No war with Syria. Yeah, no war with Syria. How about no wars? You know, what's the long-term strategy for no wars? You know, march against Monsanto. Yes, you have people marching. What's the long-term strategy towards food liberation, which I think this right here is part of it, is begin these people's media networks, where people work together and begin to actually, instead of just saying, oh, this is kind of organic, well, now we have a plan. So these are kind of the elements to a successful transmedia team.
Oh, no, we can.
You have the aggregators and the researchers and the fact checkers. So those people on your team that are Twitter heads like me or love reading the Facebook newsfeed and like taking in, those are your researchers, those are your aggregators, those are people that are going to go through all the information. If they're administering any of your social media sites, usually a common rule that we have is if you have any doubts about the information that you want to report or the story that you share, you drop it in a shared group and you say, hey, this is kind of unconfirmed. As a researcher, can anyone give me any confirmation? So that puts multiple heads on it. But usually if you know what you're talking about and you're 100% confident the information that is reliable, this person will put it straight to the social media websites or the social networks. So then you have Patty Beers and Jeff Ploy. You have on-scene reporters, interviewers that are also video and live stream loggers. You have some videographers. I know we had that with the TPP train. We had a videographer right there that would later take it to the video editors, which would later create content for YouTube, possibly go to the meme team, and then would go to the website. And, well, we could say publicity, but in my world, these are administrators for social media sites. So from the researchers and the fact checkers, you go to the reporters. You have, this is called booking external relations. I would really say these are organizations for us as activists. It then goes to you, the activists say, okay, this is what we're dealing with. We're going to organize an event around it. And then these story writers begin to write material that are going to galvanize people to these events that they're going to plan. Mike, what's up?
I mean, so listen, the point though is that the roles and responsibilities aren't confused so much with individuals, because obviously 2 or 3 people can very commonly fulfill the roles of this draft. I mean, in fact, by default, unfortunately, you normally have 1, 2, or 3 core activists that do a half a dozen of those responsibilities.
Some of them, I know today we're actually talking about doing a larger team. So I know that both Nick and I have been on some very large teams. And what we probably might not say, I don't know about your team, but that there's 30 or 40 people working in the background, just as contributors. So we do have, in smaller organizations, yes, there might be people who are both, you know, they are a videographer and they're making memes and they're a photographer, right? But when you do a big team, when you do March Against Monsanto, when you do Revolution News, you're going to have, I mean, there's 60 contributors. And they have all different skill sets, and it's super important that these people are communicating. because that is how you stay on message. So you have all of the content created, whether through your live streamers, your YouTube crew, your meme team, your print publications, your story writers, and then they all will be distributed. You should have a website. The publicity team would, and also would be someone like Lauren that writes a press release, and she's like, I'm in contact with all these other media outlets to get it further than just your immediate network. And then it goes out, social networks, mainstream media, alternative press, local mainstream media outlets. And all of that should inform that why that you started with. Why are we doing this? And it should reinforce it to make it stronger and to make, we're building towards an action, then everything reinforces that action. That event invite should be on a bunch of the material, even though I know reposting links is bad. So I had a day, I think I spoke about it, I walked onto Twitter one morning and I saw this picture. I go on Twitter and I'm like, holy shit, are those Occupy Sandy people feeding those FEMA volunteers? So in 2 minutes, I made that.
It says your government sucks when Occupy Sandy volunteers feed FEMA.
I can't show it to anyone because that's a grammar error, but okay, so this ends up on like Alex Jones, Jon Stewart, or whatever, wherever the hell it went. It reaches like 50 million people. I made it in 2 minutes. I think with a meme, I was still using meme generators and I had to cut off the bottom, right? And it begins a transmedia narrative. I didn't even have to, it wasn't, hey Isaiah? It wasn't a transmedia narrative that I was trying to sculpt, it wasn't, but Alex Jones takes it and is like, he begins to make a bigger story of it, which it becomes more about like, what does it mean when our alleged federal emergency management services can't do the job that Occupy Sandy can do? Which was a very important part of their narrative because we needed Occupy Sandy. Why? Because our government was not equipped to deal with this natural disaster. So it actually reinforced their broader narrative and brought people back to Occupy Sandy. How do you use information to create change? Global public opinion is the new superpower. And it says at the bottom, the rise of the smart mobs. Smart mobs. A smart mob is a form of self-structuring social organization through technology-mediated, intelligent, emergent behavior. The concept was introduced by Howard Rheingold in his book, Smart Mobs, The Next Social Revolution. According to Rheingold, smart mobs are an indication of the evolving communication technologies that will empower the people. So essentially that graph that I showed you, where you have the researchers and you have the fact checkers, and it gets filtered through all these people who do video, who might be the Twitter person, who might be the Facebook person, who might be the live streamer. They're functioning as a smart mob for information. And another element that was really important to this, that Rheingold discusses, is collective collaboration. That is one of the most important things in terms of, instead of being your own insular smart mob, like it's great if you're a smart mob, but it's really bad if nobody knows any of the information that you're learning about that's counter to our media narrative and dangerous to our society. Like if nobody knows GMOs are dangerous, like it's great that you have a smart mob of 10, but how do you tell everybody else about it? And what Nick says is really important. It's finding those other groups, maybe sharing a couple people that you have mutual in those groups, and beginning to collectively collaborate to distribute the information that is going to further your purpose, and that's going to get accurate and important information out, because you actually cannot have a functioning democracy without people having access to accurate information about their society. It is impossible for people to make decisions about what should happen to their society if they are being told nothing but lies. If the information that they have is not factual and accurate, we will never have a participatory democracy that works. And one thing Rheingold really says that's also really important to our society is people learning how to aggregate that information. That one of the greatest dangers to our youth is them logging on and thinking that somebody in Minnesota who made a YouTube video about an alien invasion is accurate because they saw it on a screen. You know what I mean? So beginning to teach people how to know if your sources are accurate is super important. Creating a transmedia campaign, here's some things to ask yourself. What are your goals? What are your goals? No war with Syria. What was no war with Syria's goal? Who can tell me?
No war with Syria.
Super easy, right? It was right there. March against Monsanto. What's their goal? I think that's what ended up happening was March against Monsanto. But it's food liberation, right? It's to have control of our food. Maybe kill Monsanto would be a good one. The narrative. What is the narrative you want to create? And like, I wouldn't be too crazy focused on that because know that your narrative's going to spin out a little bit. Know that people are going to tell their personal stories. You know what I mean? But what is you have to think about it. What is the narrative that we actually want to create? Why don't we want to go to nowhere? Why don't we want to go to Syria? I mean, why is American military intervention a bad thing? Oh, because they're crazy imperialists that are going to take over and rape them of all their resources and not help anybody. That's why it's a terrible thing. Because we act like a global superpower. Hold on.
I think it's very important too, just getting back to the name of something. Like my Facebook events now all have like the same name. Tell Obama to flush the TPP. Or I'm doing one right now, I don't know if it's going to come off, but Christmas with the Cokes down in Palm Beach. It actually explains what the action is. Or tell Bruce Carter, stop the sale of the LA Times to the Koch brothers. I mean, it's not very creative, but it's like, because what happens is when somebody gets invited to an event, you know, when they see in their notification, only the first part of that whole title will come out. So you have to make sure that the first few words have the bulk of what it is you're trying to get people to do. So that's why no war with Syria is actually a better thing than March against Monsanto, because you said, what is the goal here? And the goal is right there in the title.
Exactly. And also another really smart tactic that we started doing is not letting them kill our event invites. So when we create these crazy Facebook event invites and we get 10,000 people at RSVP, I like run home before the day ends and I extend the invite further because if you extend it on that day, you keep all the people. So if something changes, the notifications change, like the more you extend it, the less they get the notifications. But if something changes or anything happens, if they suddenly decide to drop bombs on Syria, those people are still right there. And I know who they are. And we usually, when we do something like that, now we start to create working groups right away. So when you do know what war with Syria, you create an environment where the most galvanized activists that say, I want to get involved, how do I help? You have a place to put them, and you can begin to strengthen that team of videographers, of organizers, of people that write press releases, of people that are going to tweet, of people that are going to write articles. Because otherwise, you're going to end up like us. I mean, after 2 years of Occupy LA, I was like burned out, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do another thing. Like, what are we doing wrong? What we were doing wrong was not creating that space for other people to come in that wanted to plug in, because they see the same faces. So I practice something called step up, step back. Like right now, I'm step back as an organizer. You're not going to see me with a megaphone. Like take the megaphone. I'm like, no. And maybe move into somewhere else and say, I'm going to do media work right now, or I'm going to be a part of it in a different way that's more chill and relaxing. I'm just going to make memes. You know what I mean? So how the hell do things go viral? Like I said before, don't plan to be viral. Plan to be awesome. People will pick up good content that is awesome and share it. I mean, yes, if you have 10 followers on Twitter and you post it on Twitter, you're probably going to have less of a chance of going viral. Maybe if you invade a good hashtag, people might find it.
But if you create something awesome and you have that broader network and you're collectively collaborating, you can make something go viral that's awesome. And your groups that you're collaborating with are gonna let you know if it's awesome. Like, if I'm in a Facebook group and I post something to a bunch of admins, I say, hey guys, post this, and it just dumps to the bottom, and nobody clicks like, and nobody shares it, I know that what I created is probably not awesome. But if it keeps coming up to the top on the group, it keeps floating, you know that you probably did something that's gonna go viral. Create good, inspiring, timely, and platform-appropriate content. That's how you go viral on specific platforms. It has to be appropriate for that platform. No major essays on Facebook. No boring 140-word characters on Twitter. Amazing headlines on Twitter, or ironic, or something that's going to catch people's attention. Something personal. Especially if it's your personal Facebook page and the people are following you, or your friends and your loved ones. They want to know why this personally relates to you, because they personally relate to you. And make it specific to that platform. Share content with everyone everywhere. So when I create something and I'm working on a project like a meme or something and I'm like, this is awesome, I begin sharing it everywhere. It'll be, I'll make 140, and well, you can't do 140 characters with a picture, but it'll be like 100 characters and a picture on Twitter that it goes with. There'll be a blogette on my Facebook. I might create a blog to put it on. And then I'll go to other groups that are working in other arenas on Facebook, and I'll begin to share that content so that they can pick it up and share it on their networks. And I know that when it starts popping up in my news feeds from other people, that I've gone viral, that something that was created has gone viral. Make it personal and interesting. Collaborate with other people, organizations, collectives, and groups. Try to be the root source of your own viral content, which means, as I said before, when you create original content, have it originate on your network. So if you have a website, have it originate there. If you have a YouTube page, have it originate there. If you have a Twitter, have it originate there. Social media is a share-for-share environment. It pretty much exists on mutual aid. So, and people know, I mean, the people who have been there a long time know to dial it back to you and to credit you. And they will do that. And I mean, people will steal it, but like, if you're there for a cause, like you want to stop the TPP, I don't care if someone stole my name. Like, I really don't. You're spreading the message, so you're just like, okay, whatever.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do I stop it? I mean, this thing, somebody just shared it with me in a private message, and they say, look at this meme, you think it's too outrageous, and it's the one with I don't even know who created it.
It was the TPP meme team.
All right, well now it's all over the place, and it doesn't have anything for people to do, because I started posting it on people's walls with the mere caption that said, please share this awesome new meme, or something like that. So when people share it, and you look to, you know how you see the picture, and then to the right of it, you see something written. It just has my lame little, you know, thing. It doesn't even link them to expose it, because they said they don't.
On your page that they're sharing it from?
I don't know. I think I put it into, first of all, I took it from the private message and I put it into my iPhoto. And then I uploaded, every time I put it somewhere, I took the photo. You know how Facebook, it says you can upload the photo? I took the photo directly from my photo rather than from my page. And then I created a new thing for it.
Well, a lot of, so.
And now everybody's sharing it like crazy, and I feel bad because there's no action item associated with it.
Okay,
That's a good point.
With social media, with the exception of like sharing articles, you can edit absolutely anything that you post. Articles are like the only thing you can't edit, and I always, when we all first started doing this, we had a couple people in there that were like perfectionists. They're like, it can't go out till it's perfect. And you're just like, and like I always found that I posted a lot of photos because at the time you couldn't edit everything, but photos, the captions of photos, you could edit super easily. So I would always add on to it as more information came in. So I recommend, if you can go in there, to edit it and to add relevant information and send them to where you want them to go. So if it's like flush2tpp.org or whatever it is, go in there, edit it, and change it. Because that's the thing about social media, like, it is live editing, it is live participating. Things don't have to be absolutely perfect. You might say, okay, we planned this action, but we changed the location. Great, just go back in there, edit it, and then like send out a post to tell people that things have changed. And if they're still sharing your picture, now all the new people are gonna see the edited information. They're not gonna get the original information because you've changed it.
But I can't edit something once I post it on a group's wall. I can only delete it.
I think you can edit. If it's a photo, you can edit the caption.
No, you can't edit the link.
Yeah, but photos you can edit.
So the digital mic check, which is what we've been talking about a lot, which is amplifying each other's voices. So you have various organizations, you have various people in the room, and this is what we mean by collectively collaborating with each other and creating these kinds of campaigns. Amplify the voices of your campaign, and that doesn't just mean your own. It means other people that already either decide to participate or were already like-minded folks that were involved, and begin to share their material. Collectively collaborate to create and exchange content with like-minded groups and individuals. So ID some of those groups. And if they're not galvanized, if you're already putting your foot out and saying, we're going to create this massive campaign to get people all over the globe to march against Monsanto, maybe some anti-GMO groups don't know about it. You know what I mean? So reach out, identify them, and have people actually reach out and say, hey, do you all want to get involved? If you all want to get involved, this is what we're doing. And begin to get them involved and have that mutual exchange where maybe you're sharing some of their anti-GMO material because you're going to need it with your March Against Monsanto campaign, where you probably don't have enough researchers to cover everything Monsanto is doing, right? And they're going to want to push your action and your plan because you've taken the initiative and it already involves what they believe in. And like in LA, we had a lot of get money out of politics people that are involved also, because it also, Monsanto, what they're doing involves money in politics. This would not be going on if Monsanto didn't have so much money pumped into our government. And then educate the public by sharing information, articles, and blogs related to your campaign. So although we might know how terrible GMOs are, we might know how much money is in politics, or we might know that they can indefinitely detain us without charge and trial. Before Occupy, I knew absolutely nothing about politics. It was like, I knew nothing. I wanted to do music about sex, drugs, and rock and roll and be in the Hollywood scene. Like, I was not involved socially at all, except being a regular person that was empathetic at times. You know what I mean? So we have to look at it from a perspective of everyone around us might be completely ignorant to whatever our campaign is. And you have to build information for those people as well and know that people are kind of on a scale from not knowing anything about what you're doing to knowing more than what you know, and kind of put out information that goes across that spectrum. From like the meeting that you have with the bull, that was like one of the last ones that came out of TCC team, because that's like pretty aggressive, right? But the original ones were much more educational. It was much more like what their infographics, what is the Trans-Pacific Partnership? It's a deal that's being negotiated in secret that's going to be like a global corporate coup and override our democracy, or at least the countries that are involved. But it's very hard for new people to understand that if you don't actually get information out that informs them as to why you are doing what you're doing. So let me see if I have anything else. Oh, this revolution will be tweeted. So that's it. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Go ahead, Mike.
I feel like the one thing that seems to be lacking in most social media campaigns is the action-oriented item that actually asks people to do one thing based on the communication and what the message would be. Like with the TVP, you can do another dozen things, but the biggest thing is to call your legislator and the White House and tell them to not fast track or to ask somebody to do something on the phone, as opposed to organizing another action, possibly putting together another group or some sort of a research angle if you've got a longer timeline. I mean, the action-oriented item, I guess, at least in my perspective, is the single most important element of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, because everybody can read 100 messages a day, and we all care, but then at the end of the day, am I signing a petition? Am I calling Sarah for the 4th time this week and setting up an office visit? Should I be worried in the next 3 weeks, or is the deadline tomorrow?
Yeah. So I think you're saying is that the why, the what, and the how should be communicated in each of these narratives as precisely as possible. So you want to tell them why, you want to tell them what you're doing, and you want to tell them how to take action. Because the more people you actually have taking action, the more likely your campaign is going to be successful. And then you can plan, instead of having these moments of spontaneous insanity, like the war with Syria, like, oh fuck, they're going to drop bombs. We need to start planning campaigns. We need to really sit down and say, what are we tired of and how are we going to do this? And have long-term action plans. Like, I know gentrification is a huge problem in here in LA. And it seems like an almost insurmountable beast. But like a group of people sitting down and saying, all right, how do we plan to stop gentrification in Los Angeles? And how do we plan to do this as a media team? It would be a good local campaign for some of the groups that I know are here. And you can do that. And then when you do that, you create hashtags. You kind of decide, these are the hashtags that we're going to use for the campaign, and everybody's on the same page about what those hashtags are. You discuss the narrative. You create a long-term action plan that is going to reinforce and drive that narrative further. And you begin to pull together that team that's going to end up getting your message out and hopefully successfully getting your campaign through so that you can facilitate the change that you're trying to create in your society.
Alyssa, can I just add something about, because it kind of plays off of what Mike said about an action item. Okay. So you weren't into politics before Occupy, and therefore you don't have a real strong history of, like, the fact that, yes, there can be good legislators, because basically, and, you know, the inherent bias in the Occupy movement against reform. I was constantly accused of being a reformist when I'm actually a lot more radical than most people I know. I think that all things can be used, all tactics, reform, resistance, reconstruction. When you have an action like March Against Monsanto, and what is galvanizing you is the Monsanto Protection Act, and then you have a senator like Jeff Merkley, who actually leads the fight to repeal the Monsanto Protection Act, you need to acknowledge that. And you need to, if you want these liberal senators to keep, like, working on your behalf, and this is a guy who also just, by the way, reformed the filibuster for the first time in the history of this country. So now that the Republicans can't, you know, use 60, so you don't need 60 votes to get Obama's judicial nominees appointed. And despite what you think of Obama, and I'm not his biggest fan, his judicial appointees are liberal, and you do need the judges before it's the last resort. But anyway, you have a guy like Jeff Merkley who's doing that. He's also going to fight the TPP. You need to then extend your campaign to his Facebook page, and you need to acknowledge what he did so that it becomes a reciprocal relationship. When he sees all the people are excited about something that he did that was progressive, it eggs him on to want to do more. Right now, I was just recently on his Facebook page, and he's getting shit from all the Republicans for basically supporting Obamacare, and now they're all like, they can't keep our plans, and you said that we could, and blah, blah, blah. And here's a guy, you know, who's going to be in a tough re-election fight. He needs some positive stuff on his Facebook page for the positive things that he'll do. Otherwise, why is he going to do these positive things? Similarly, when Paul Koretz just put forth a motion to make Los Angeles a GMO-free zone, that was huge. I didn't see anybody from the March on Monsanto people at that city hall where that was announced. It was mostly the local food people that I work with on the Food Policy Council. So, I mean, here you've gotten something that is so huge. When the city of Los Angeles wants to do that, you know, it reverberates throughout California, throughout the country, and throughout the world. You need to acknowledge that, you know, because after all, what are you trying to do? You can't make change on your own. I mean, politicians respond to being pushed. So when they respond in a positive way, you need to acknowledge them so that they continue to do more. It's like a drug. This is what politicians need.
So she's saying to reinforce good behavior, like be sure that your team reinforces good behavior from our political masters, and to counter bad behavior. We have totally different political perspectives, because I see a world without politicians. But I agree. Look, it's still the industrial system politicians as far as I'm concerned. They're the middlemen. It's just like we can represent ourselves. But in the time that we actually actually live, where we have these quote-unquote representatives, even though we're not on horse and buggy anymore, we need to reinforce their good behavior and to counter the bad behavior until there's something different.
But there's a more selfish reason for doing it, because they have a lot of quote-unquote reformists too that read their Facebook pages and are on their Twitter feeds. So you're also educating people beyond preaching to the converted.
This is true, but when you do some of the bad behavior, like I have been on Obama's Facebook page, do know that when you post comments that are counter to the narrative they want, they will be deleted, which is why creating content is so valuable, because even when you actually try and confront the bad behavior, they will filter that stuff if the person's powerful enough, but what they can never filter is your viral content.
Well, I'm talking about the reverse. I was banned from Fran Tapley's Facebook page, by the way, because I fought her bill. And so now I have other people post for me.
And who, okay, Scott?
So, I like this analogy you gave, this whole continuum of people that understand the topics and don't understand the topics. But I some people in this room won't like this. I'm really concerned that we do, particularly with media types, that we do a lot of this and we don't reach past that ending point to go to people that are not really on the computer, they're not really engaged, and we don't really organize people by creating relationships and movements. I do see some relationships formed, like you two found each other because of a joint relationship over organizing on an issue. But I would like to explore a little bit, like the March on Monsanto, which caught my fancy. I would say that the media component of that tapped into a current that already existed.
Yes.
And a tremendous amount of work had been done both in the organic food community for decades. That's been a topic, and I don't think that came out of only the failure of the legislation to pass about labeling. I think there was already, particularly in Southern California, this massive movement that is organized and established, and many of them were not on Facebook.
I mean, I would disagree a little bit. Like, I think that sometimes there's like a rupture where there's just a synergy where things float to the top of society, much like those admin groups where you dump material in that you want to go viral, that either sink or float. And I think that there are times when people can be galvanized and they cannot. And I think when people realize that their democratic voice in the food supply is stripped away, that's the moment to bring down the hammer, and where groups like March Against Monsanto rise. But I think one of your concerns here, and you might be the person that's more interested in this part, print publications, TV, radio, podcasts, you know, because there are people, you need people to do those print publications that are going to make the papers or the flyers and get people on the ground that are like, I don't use Facebook, I don't use Twitter, I don't live in the digital era. So that's why it's important to have that spectrum in your team as well. Nick?
I think what you were saying is pretty important about getting the people that are more or less like empathetic to things. Like, for instance, with the TPP, it's so broad that it can be like overwhelming. But there's so many things that are wrong with it that no matter where you are in society, what demographic you're in, there's a piece of that of the TPP that you can pull out and make it relevant to a certain person. So I think what you kind of made me think about is to take a lot of these issues and like look at them with like a magnifying glass kind of, and find each angle that we can take for each issue and how we can make it apply to certain people that may not typically be on our Facebook pages and involved in that community. I think it's really, one thing we should start doing is really trying to exploit every single angle that we can find in whatever it is that we can do. TPP is so huge that there's pieces of it that we can take out that can affect basically everybody in this country. And would make certain, it would strike a nerve or an emotional reaction with someone from anywhere.
Can I respond a little bit?
Yeah.
So the March on Monsanto in LA was a pretty big event. Probably had a good solid 1,200-1,500 people there. And one of the valid criticisms of it was that it was a fairly white middle class event. It was people that could afford to eat it, to shop at the farmer's market. And it didn't really effectively target people that live in food deserts or that are homeless, though there were certainly some of those people there. Wasn't the vast majority. It certainly resonated with kind of a higher class than it could have been thought about or had been effectively targeted. And I don't think we ever came back around and effectively dealt with that in terms of targeting the groups that were kind of missed. I mean, who knew that it was going to blow up into that thing? Let me make the second one. So last night we had an event about some potential changes that would affect our ability to give out food. And that happened in Hollywood, and that also had that that same kind of a little bit of a feel. It was a little better than the March on Monsanto at City Hall, but it still had that same issue that we didn't reach what I think would be the natural constituency for that issue, or people that were not online, unless they happened to be walking in Hollywood and buying last night at 4 o'clock. So I just think that in our strategies, it has to come more, I think, to the front center, that we need to be reaching beyond these strategies for our communications.
I agree with your concern, but here's another thing that I take a little issue with. So with March Against Monsanto, there were toolkits put out where anyone could have organized absolutely anything for March Against Monsanto that gave them the materials, the memes. And so here's the thing, and this happened last night on Monday Night Mission. You have participants that show up after the fact that complain, that didn't participate, and that didn't add to the event.
Which I was certainly.
Right. So it's super easy for Siskel and Ebert to watch your movie and say, but you did this, this, and this wrong. But when you create these participatory environments, or you create toolkits where if you had said, I'm going to do March Against Monsanto, and we're going to do one that's based around food deserts, and you would have contacted March Against Monsanto, your event would have been posted. It would have been treated like everybody else's event, which is kind of the brilliance of these new campaigns, where you get a toolkit. So you have the basic necessities to create your own events wherever you are locally, and you run with it. But people that don't actually participate in organizing, and people that don't put any effort in, that come in after, and I think that it could have been addressed rounder, but I think either the people that do that need to either make themselves present and know that activists that are volunteering their time cannot think of absolutely
I'm just going to interrupt right now because I think it's a tactic. I think it's a tactic to attack.
Disrupt organizing.
And I don't know, I know with Midnight Mission, didn't that just happen at the very last minute? And with March Against Monsanto, didn't it happen just at the very last minute?
Yeah, it always happens after the event. Don't throw away the notes. If you do the next event, that's when you come back with your team and you say, okay, this is what the public criticized. They criticized this, this, and this. But don't kick yourself in the ass because you couldn't think of everything. I mean, yes, if you do something that's blatantly like screwed up, racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever, kick yourself hard. But if it's because you couldn't think of everything, because you can't represent each voice, and we're not having problems with audio, but I'm going to try and create a group that will leave here today. I think wait, hold on a second.
Mike!
Oh. I have it.
Okay.
But if it's because you couldn't think of everything, like you can't hate yourself. You can take those notes and try to make the next thing better. Or try and get people to be like, hey, take the toolkit. You really hate everything that I do. So I'd love to see what you create so that I can learn from you. And I will support you.
Can I address Scott's point? Because I think the whole concept of social media is very elitist and very privileged. I know that I pay $40-some-odd a month for my internet connection, and I pay like $65 a month for my cell phone. You have to recognize that the communities that you're talking about don't have the money for that. There are so many. This is like the whole conceit about putting iPads into, everybody who goes to LAUSD. A good percentage of these kids don't even have an internet connection when they get home. So social media cannot be the be-all and the end-all of your campaign. When I started Occupy Fights Hunger, and the whole idea was to get people using their food stamps at farmers markets, I found out that 42% of people in LA County that were eligible for food stamps weren't even taking advantage of them. So Occupy Fights Hunger morphed into, let's have some food stamp enrollment events. And you know what I did? I went into these neighborhoods that I am not from, but I used my head and I said, where am I going to find these people? And I put up big posters at check cashing places, at pawn shops, at the DWP place where you go to pay your bill, at the public library, at the recreation, the parks and recreation, at the employment opportunity office where people are going for job counseling and getting their unemployment checks. I mean, I tried to think of all these places where the people that would need the food stamps would be going, you know, so you cannot make social, I mean, what you want to talk about is not necessarily the purpose of this meeting. This meeting is to talk about social media and conventional media, but as far as like general overall activism and reaching populations, you cannot, like, that's why we always say, you know, she used the word collectivist. You can't just be a collectivist. You have to be an activist. You have to go out on the street. And that's Saul Alinsky. Good old-fashioned Saul Alinsky style organizing is going door to door and going to your neighbors. And you know, this is what they're not doing with the fracking and the Inglewood oil fields. There are people that are getting sick and dying from that, and they're too busy like going to public hearings and influencing the EIRs and doing their lawsuits and all these like really technical things that these people feel comfortable with. But nobody's like going around and organizing the neighbors. And if they got that whole force of people, there's a couple 100,000 people that live within the vicinity of that oil field, and they went and occupied Mark Ridley Thomas's office for a week or two, I guarantee you they would shut that thing down. They have not done that because they're like sort of an upper, well not upper, but they're like a middle class white elite, you know, that's very comfortable with, you know, public hearings and regulations and, you know, testifying. And so the whole thing, all of activism has to be a very multi-part strategy, and social media is just one part of it.
Yeah, I think street teams are important, and I'm going to not take.
I just want to say something real quick, going all the way back to the comment about supporting our legislators who are working on our side. I think that, I don't know what world people come from, but if you think that I agree with you on everything, you're wrong. And if you think the person next to you agrees with you on everything, you're wrong. So basically, you got to give some room to people to disagree, and you've got to be able to work with, like we're trying to work with all these different groups. You're saying go work with this group and go work with that. Well, it's the same thing with our legislatures. We got to work with them too. They're part of the solution. So they're the same thing as going to work with Occupy and working with some other group out there, TTP, with the people who are doing the money thing, with the money in politics. It's the exact same thing. We got to work with those people as well.
Are there any more questions? Because we have one more speaker. So is there anything else?
This is great.
So I heard people say like the importance of street teams as well and people on the ground, and that's super important. You just can't exist in cyberspace.
To address this point, it's a common complaint that, you know, it's mostly white middle class people at these protests, but that's because, think about it, protesting is something people who are pretty politically get to do. I mean, if you're starving out there and trying to get a meal, are you really going to show up to a protest when you don't even have a vehicle? So, like, that's a common complaint, but we don't acknowledge that these people are suffering way more than we are. We still have jobs, vehicles, you know, whatever internet we need, social media, but not these other people, they don't. That's why it's not just one protest you'll see that at, it's every protest. You know, and so we try to get more inclusive, but these people have to show up and they have to have the resources to be able to show up. So, I don't think it's the fault of the organizers. I think that that's the case with every protest.
I agree. And I'm also glad you brought it up because I had sort of a mini
just know that that is what we're looking at. Like if I planned an action, I would then hopefully remember to think of, okay, like you did, you walked around into the different neighborhoods. Just get the people that aren't sitting there on their, computers online and with their cars, just to get them and to figure that out. That almost has to be part of our activism. So those who can should, and we have to help those who can.
I would just add, yeah, totally agree. And I just moved here from New York, so a lot of the things I saw there, exact same things all the time. This event was this. Actually, every event was criticized in some sort of way for something like that. But in New York, there was several groups, and one of my friends in particular, who, it's like, nobody from my neighborhood is represented here. Nobody, who is actually affected the same kind of things. And there were a couple of groups, and his is now one of the biggest, like, he still occupies the name, but he basically, kept that in mind, and then started a whole, separate, that was like his thing. You saw several groups of people just like us that not only they kept that in mind, but that was basically their goal, was to bring more people, from the affected communities into these, actions and stuff. And it eventually it did work. But yes, I agree with every single one of those.
There's a list going around, so I think in kind of, I know in LA, like a lot of you people see me screaming or at marches or organizing or whatever, but in cyberspace I've played like a little bit of a quieter role and have observed a lot of these larger media presences built, and had the privilege for like the past year to kind of watch how it happens. And one of those things is collectively collaborating on larger projects, even though you might not all be from the same cause. Like March Against Monsanto is a large project, Revolution News is a large project, and then people having their little projects that they do in smaller collectives. So one of our goals today is to create that larger umbrella project. So we have a list going around, and on it asks for your Facebook name, because I will probably send you a friend request and create a group, and your email address, just in case you're not on Facebook. So for anyone who's interested in working on this larger umbrella project, which I don't think we quite know what it is at this time until we all come together collectively to talk about what it's going to be, please add your name to that list along with your email, and this way everybody here that's part of that spectrum of like, what the hell are you talking about, large Facebook pages and websites, to let's do this, let's replicate this amazing model, can work as one team in a kind of experiment to build something like that, so that even if it totally flops, at least all the steps you will have been kind of walked through or participated in or created, like, I'm gonna create the Instagram, so that you can see, because there's a lot of other things we don't have time to cover today, like food tech or like things where collective collaboration kind of happens. And then next up we have John Brennan to talk about Occupied Radio.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about TweetDeck after.
Because I use a service called Live 365 for streaming the internet radio. I don't know if that's what you guys use also.
For me, I'm actually on AM radio for the Palomar College. I use it. They switched to Live 365 for their stream, and I use Ustream for my webcam and Ustream for live streaming on the screen.
Okay. Yeah. Is yours? Okay, and then, well, anyways, like, so Live 365, I use that as a provider for streaming, and it's $99 a month, which is up to 1,000 listeners, which is very affordable, good service, I think. And then, and that's 1,000 listeners at one time. So to reach that amount, if we ever get that big, that'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? But so, anyways, if anyone's interested in joining and helping out with that project and getting media.
Yeah, crazy. What's your name?
From other sources out there through Occupy News Radio and get full credit and everything on them. We also have a WordPress site, Facebook, YouTube, all hooked up together, Twitter, so it's all set up and ready to go. So we just need more people to help out.
Will you be in the group?
Yeah. I'm financially, the $99 is really hard on me myself. So, but I'm working with a couple.
All right, I got you.
Clark in Occupy Venice and Mark and also Fernando. Like join together. So that eases up the financial part. So, but more people, and if anyone could just chip in, like a little bit, like and while helping us out, like if we had like 10 people, then it would only be what, $9.99 a month. So so it's but right now for me to pay that, my unemployment, it's I'm looking at, I've been unemployed for 6 months, so it's probably gonna be ending by the end of this year. So, but if people would like to help out, and then I've been wanting to get this thing going. We had it going, and then we had 4 people. 2 are focusing on permaculture and helping out more in the community. So it takes a lot of time with the media. Just uploading videos to YouTube will take a long time, and getting and having to listen to it and stream it and check, fact check and everything, make sure it's good to go out. There is a lot of trust in that, and that's important. It does take a long time. So anyone that can help out, that'd be wonderful.
Hi, thank you. My name is Steve Rogers. I have a program on Kill Radio, excuse the expression, Kill Radio is an internet. It's anti-corporate, means kill corporate radio. My program's on windows, and I'd like to just lend a hand, if there's anything I can do, you would just make announcements.
Well, we have a list going around now, so from this group, oh, it's over here. What we're hoping to do is create a people's media team. And everyone, unfortunately, I want to say let's go to Evolve Society, but we know that everybody's on Facebook. So.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do this another day.
Yeah, I think we need to create this group, and we can talk about making plans to maybe meet again. Do people want to go deeper into all the things that we've been talking about? Okay, so I will create this group. You'll have to accept my friend request if you aren't already my friend. I'm Lissa Bissa. My name sometimes changes what comes with social media. Sometimes it's a little bit more harassment than you would wish for. I used to be Lissa Occupy everywhere.
Well, I need to write somebody's name.
I'm Lissa Bissa for now. I will create
Somebody on the live stream once in the group.
this group, and then we can all begin to sort of plan more coherently towards our next meeting, figuring out what our schedule is, and maybe even
Jessica.
some of the workshops might need to be broken up. Like, I can teach people screenwriting, but I cannot teach you screenwriting in 3 hours with other people in the room. You know what I mean? So we talk about what the needs are of our communal group, and then figure out a program for us, and then how we're going to create this umbrella, what the name is going to be, and how it functions. And we will talk about that in that group.
I'd like to volunteer my house on the west side for the location of the next meeting. I can't stand driving downtown.
We're
NIDER.
talking about street team support, and if anybody's interested in anything to do with the NDA, a friend of ours, a year younger than me, started a group called PANDA, People Against the NDAA. You have their website, PANDA, just one A, not 2 A's, pandaunite.org/takeback. They have an activist toolkit where you can take and go to your city governments and pass a amendment against the NDAA with teeth in it. Unfortunately, the one that Jerry Brown signed does not allow for the arrest of federal agents, which means it does nothing. So the one that our friend wrote has charging federal agents with crime for following the indefinite detention parts of the NDAA. So he's already passed it in Albany, New York, and a couple of places. He was up in Santa Cruz and Siskiyou County, and I'm doing it down in San Diego and Encinitas. And we're going to work on it in some more townships in San Diego. The toolkit's there for everybody to use. It's pandaunite.org/takeback.
Can you say the website again?
Panda, P-A-N-D-A, unite.org/takeback.
Panda.org/takeback. It's over here.
Everybody who wants to get copies of these press releases, everybody who wants to get copies of the press release, the advisory, so I'll take the extra.
And here's some of the workflow charts that we put up of the people's media teams. Is there anybody who would like a chart? Oh, how to introduce a Twitter storm. I would like to know how to introduce a Twitter storm.
Oh, yeah.
We did a Twitter Occupy LA.
Thank you for speaking. There are people on the live stream who are big Lauren Steiner fans now.
Hi everyone. Have a good week next week.
They loved you and we're praising you.
In Orange County, we're doing a demonstration at Ed Royce's office in, I think it's Fullerton, but go to the, tell Obama to flush the TPP page, and I think it's the pinned post. So next Friday at 11:30, we're doing another demonstration.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay. Do I have an invite on Facebook? Is there?
Oh, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Because I don't think I heard about that.
Yeah. I don't think I invited specifically.
I have no idea what's happening after today. Is there an action on Tuesday or Monday or? I don't even know. I'm terrible. It's really funny because I'm the one who gives everyone the information and I have no idea what's actually happening.
AEL. That's my first name.
Thank you, Mike. Mike, I wish you would do those blogs again. Mike used to do these amazing blogs after actions that would integrate, would have like pictures from the action, had videos from the action, and then Mike would like write the narrative in between the pictures, kind of what Lauren Steiner did after the TPP action. But Mike Peak, I love those blogs, and I wish you would do them again.
I know, I feel the same way.
That was awesome. See you later.
I show up to events.
I think it's funny. There's 4 streamers here, and none of them wanted to talk. Oh, we talked enough.
Because mine is. I think my vacuum changed. That's not my name. It has my name. Yeah.
Lauren, my viewer Boozy said I should tell you that you should offer training on how to deal with mainstream media.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Fuzi. Scott Schuster suggested that I put together like a TED Talk about the TPP
it's nice to meet you.
As a case study, so maybe I'll take him up on that.
Awesome. Well, I don't know. It seems like people want to do more media groups, so maybe we can do that next time.
Yeah.
But,
Alrighty.
What time is it right now?
After 6.
Yeah, I'm starving. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Same here. Thanks for coming.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Thanks for coming all the way up from there. Do you guys know Marcus Sullivan? Oh,
Tonight's stream. What's tonight's stream? What's stream? Observations is still. So guys, I think something's going on here tonight. I don't know if it's something that I'm going to want to stream or not. Like at 7 o'clock there's another activity happening. Ooh, I totally want to snag the leftovers. What is this, hummus?
I'm David, yeah. Actually, I'm a friend with Brian Sullivan. Oh, yeah.
Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and drop the stream. Good night. Bye guys. Unless Bob, do you want to say something to talk to the people?
I could be selfish and promote my Facebook
Yes,
page.
be selfish and promote your Facebook page.
Alright, my Facebook page is facebook.com/BobTFJ. On there you can find my YouTube channel link and a link to another page where you can donate if you like. And that's pretty much it. I
Is it a
appreciate everything. No, it's Razu. Razu.com.
Could you tell us the link, the URL?
It's razu.com/causes. No, razu.com/cause/Bob the fucking journalist.
Yay, awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so good night, guys. That's the end of the stream. It's really hard to say goodbye, but goodbye.